democratic nation, we see the prevalence of justice and fairness within our legal system, which does not dehumanize criminals. Now, there is a focus on holding whoever is truly accountable to their crime, and we on Side Proposition strongly believe that this is incredibly important. Good afternoon. The resolution before the House today is this House would allow just following orders as a defense in war crime trials. Now, we on Side Government will be showing you why this is in fact true through three contentions today. First of all, the pressures of the time. Secondly, authenticity of the trial. And lastly, rehabilitation of the country. Now, before I get into those first two contentions, let's just talk about the actual terms of this debate today. Now, this House is defined as national courts of democratic countries to ensure a fair trial. Defense is admissible or acceptable defense in court with supported evidence. War crime trials are trials persecuting those convicted of war crimes such as genocide. And that is what we will be following today during this debate. Now, let's just talk briefly about the burdens for both sides of the House today. On Side Proposition, we will prove to you that just following orders is in fact an acceptable defense in war crime trials. And we feel that the opposition has the burden to prove to you that war criminals should not be able to use this defense in these circumstances. So how would we actually do this? What are we talking about in terms of implementation? We're looking at international agreements and legislative changes to implement this kind of policy, and it will be a case-to-case assessment of their intent and what actually they have been convicted of. Now let's get right into our constructive case for Side Proposition. Now, we all know that we have a human instinct to protect ourselves, to do what we feel is right at that time. Now, this often means self-preservation. It means protecting those that we love. And a lot of the times, especially when we're talking about war crimes, a lot of the people who are carrying out the actions are forced into doing so. Let's look at a few examples. Now, when we're talking about Germany, when you think of Hitler, you think of the Nazi army. Now, those who joined the Nazi army were told that, this is the right thing to do. Look at the opportunities I can give you if you join this army. Youth were recruited under promises of a better economy and equal opportunities. And in this system, there was no way out. Yes, sir?
In your definition, you talked about democratic nations, so Hitler's Germany would be admissible under that definition.
Now, when we're talking about Germany, yeah, it wasn't democratic at that time, and that's why we need to apply this to democratic countries where we can ensure a fair trial. What we're seeing here is that by not following the examples of these countries where these sort of tragedies occurred, we can actually do something proactive and for the betterment of society. Now, getting right back into our example, we're looking at when you have a hierarchy and there's a choice that is created. So you either can join this motion or you cannot. And you can either protect your family or you cannot protect your family. Which one would you choose if you were in that position? So what we see again is this reoccurring theme of self-preservation. Doing what you feel is right for the sake of your family, for the sake of yourself. And this is often a motivation for those who are deemed war crime criminals. Let's look at another example. We can look at something like the Congo. We have a lot of child soldiers. Now, we don't want to have children being persecuted. And yes, this isn't a democratic country, but in situations where this may apply, we don't want to see that happening. If we look at Rwanda, we have propaganda during the Rwandan genocide that pressured the different groups to fight with one another. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we can look at these historical examples and actually find why we need to use this resolution to our benefit. If we're going to focus on actually having a just system, we need to look at the mistakes others have made and apply those to our own future. Yes, sir?
But since soldiers are the ones that actually do make the choice at the end, don't you believe that the actions that come after that choice should also be responsible for the for their rational thinking?
Yeah. So when you have a soldier and you are sent into war, what is your job when you're sent into war? Your job is to kill other people, the people that you are fighting against. So we see that when you're deemed that this is your job, this is what you have to do, or else, when you have the or else and you have the actual motivation, this is where we see this kind of situation arise. We can look at an analogy. Let's say you were kidnapped. Never a good thing, right? So if you were threatened and said, look, the only way you're going to survive is to kill another human being, should you be persecuted for murder? No, you shouldn't. And the reason is because your intent was because it was either your life or someone else's, and the basis of human instinct is to protect ourselves. And that is what we inside Proposition are demonstrating to you today. Now, let's talk about the actual authenticity of the trial. Does a trial really mean anything if it's not authentic, if it's not true? Of course not. That's not what we want to promote. We want to promote actual justice and actual fairness in a way that is not dehumanizing criminals. Now, we want to offer a fair trial to everyone because we cannot truly achieve a resolve in a situation unless certain defenses can be used. If we completely say, nope, this isn't even an option for you when you're in trial, is that really doing exactly what's going to help everyone out in the end? Is that really what's going to create justice in the end? No. So this is why we want to implement a resolution such as this one. The fact of the matter is, do you want the real perpetrator and the real story, or an altered version? You want to have every opportunity available to get the justice for victims and for those affected by the crime, and even those perpetrators. We can only achieve justice once the real criminal is caught, and we on side government feel that this resolution is a way of truly doing so. We need evidence. So one misconception that we may see from side opposition today is that by allowing this defense to be used in court, this will mean that they can be cleared from their crime. And we are not suggesting this at all. All we are saying is that they have an option there for that, if they feel that they can use that. If they were actually threatened into doing something that they did not want to do, wouldn't we want to know that? Wouldn't that be key to the fair trial? And we on side proposition feel that this is incredibly important. We need to provide all the options. We need to keep it open. The fact is, we want justice and we want fairness in democratic countries. So by not following the example of previous countries that were affected by war crimes and how they handled them, and by ensuring that the trials are actually authentic, we can actually make a move towards better progress for the country. So what have we presented to you thus far? We've told you three contentions. First of all, the pressures of the time, through examples of the Congo and Germany. Second, the authenticity of the trial. And lastly, the rehabilitation of the country, which my partner will be speaking to later on. We have shown you why this resolution must most definitely stand, and we on side proposition stand proud to propose.